When we found out about our son's addiction, we were just in despair. You know, we didn't see it coming. We kept saying addiction doesn't happen to families like ours. We were humiliated. We were embarrassed as parents. We thought we'd failed. We were sad, just deep sadness for our son.
So the last 2 years we've been on quite a journey since that video was shot. You know, right after that video, Tyler was arrested and spent some time in jail. And when he got out of jail, that was the first sign that we saw that kind of what recovery looked like. He strung together about 4 months of clean time. He got a job, we helped him buy a car, and then it all came out in den again.
Actually, this isn't my first rodeo with getting clean. I've actually relapsed many times on my journey. When I got into opiates, it was in and out, in and out. I can't remember the many of times that I've relapsed. Being in the houses for, you know, a couple days, a couple months, a couple weeks, and then going back out because I just didn't see any other way at the time.
So there were several months that we didn't see Tyler, and it was really hard when he was back out on the street. He was living in a drug house or just on the street.
So yeah, relapse is definitely a part of my journey.
Probably he started using way earlier than we ever knew, but around 16 to after graduation, 18 is when it got really.
Yeah, he experimented. I mean, he experimented with pot when he was 13, 14 years old. He started experimenting with heavier drugs and, you know, Oxycontin, and then heroin, and then it was all sorts of different things, spice, you know, just whatever he could get his hands on to make himself escape his world.
Yeah, our 20-year-old son, we found out had an addiction issue.
Started out just experimenting with weed and alcohol and progressed to harder drugs, and so we intervened. Unpleasant intervention that sent him to treatment in California at 2 different centers, which didn't work out well.
Anytime that I went back out, I cut my family off. They didn't hear from me for months, almost years at a time in certain instances.
Just the impact of that, emotional and physical and mental impact is on a parent is something that's hard to describe. At my lowest point, there was a point where I thought, if he's going to die, let's just get it over with so I can deal with the pain. And having those feelings, it just also becomes releases a lot of guilt.
I got to the point where I just shut it all off. I just said, you know what, I'm done with him. I cannot do this anymore. And that I just said, I can't do this anymore. I can't.
It was the friction between us, always.
Well, I couldn't watch my son die.
We haven't thought back in a long time.
There is an opportunity for families that have a loved one struggling with addiction. They don't see it yet. They come to us defeated, broken down. You can always tell the new person in the room by their body language. You always know when they're new and they walk into the solution group. I remember being one of those moms that were lost in the woods and didn't know what to do. You know, my son struggled for addiction for many years, and we absolutely did not know what to do.
You don't know what you're doing. We didn't know what we were doing for years. We were doing it all alone.
You know, I told her the story of what was going on, and she's like, okay, you have to go to this group. You know, my sister swears by it. They've been through a lot. They've tried everything, nothing worked. And until they came to Battlefield.
My mom really supported me after my relapse. She was really mad when she found out that I relapsed. But once she kind of faced that fear of me getting high again, she really stepped into Battlefield. She's gotten back into really helping out with the program.
We dive in. We dive in with our families. We're completely committed. Once you're in our net, we got you, no matter what.
I came in a bit skeptical because of the failures in California, and that we kind of mailed our son off with the expectation that someone was going to fix him and then send him back to us fixed, and that's just not a reasonable expectation. So
the relationship we have with families is not a client relationship. It's really I think it's important to say that when people come to Battlefield, they become part of a family, and I always wanted to get to a point where that could open up for us. It was very difficult in the start to have that open up because it was difficult to tell a family that drugs aren't the problem. That was hard to sell because everybody thinks if you take the drugs away that would solve it, and it just doesn't. And so that beautiful thing that's happened with Battlefield is that has opened up for us and allowed us to get in there with families that I don't know we would have had an opportunity to get in there with.
I think the first thing that struck me walking in was like, everyone's really happy and they're smiling. And how can they be so happy when we've all got this devastating thing in our lives, you know?
Addiction showed up for our family, and we look at it as an opportunity. So what is the opportunity here? And that's where we start from with every family that we work with, is addiction has shown up for you. We look at it as not the problem, but an indicator of the problem.
You know, as the meeting went on and Art and Angie started talking, and then you realize that, I don't know, it wasn't about being devastated. And I think Art said that the first time that we were there. He's like, well, if you're gonna be devastated, then it's always gonna be devastating for you. It's never gonna be any different. And
if you want a tragedy, welcome to the tragedy.
Exactly.
But if you want an opportunity for a solution, then that exists.
I think people continue to say that if we have hope or we need hope, I think that I think there's a bigger possibility and it's actual solutions. If I was coaching a football team, I wouldn't want to give my guys hope. I would want to give them a strategy to win. I mean, you don't go to a gym and a guy tells you there's hope. He says, get on the treadmill.
This is one of the most important messages that we have. Is Battlefield Addiction is not here to give hope.
Yeah.
We owe our families way more than that, and we're here to give a possibility. Like, can you imagine the possibility that addiction shows up for this family and is actually the best thing that ever happened to a family?
If Battlefield Addiction didn't exist, I would probably be dead at this point. I've overdosed on multiple occasions.
Battlefield has made us, I mean, it has helped us connect. It helped me realize that I didn't have compassion for his problem. And, you know, Art opened my eyes to the fact that you need to have compassion towards your addict, you know, and that he's trapped where he's at. His mind has been kidnapped. And so that's how Battlefield helped me. It was just getting us to talk a little more, getting us to get closer and want to help each other, instead of me fighting her and her fighting me and me just saying, I don't care, I'm just done with it. So, and that's where I was at.
We learned that we had to change. Every time before, we sent him off to treatment, to detox, he would come home and we were always the same. We never changed. We never learned anything different. So we learned how to talk to him and how to interact with him to build this relationship. So we were our whole family was working on improving ourselves instead of trying to change each other. We were improving ourselves. Which led, I mean, without this addiction, who knows if our family would be as close as we are now. So I don't regret any of our past. I think it was there and we all learned from it. And we're better for it now.
I don't know anybody in Battlefield that we sit with on Tuesday nights didn't go through a reactive kind of response to their addict. And I've learned not to do that. I've learned to be more patient. And right now I just have to love him right where he's at.
Our relationship is the best it's been in 10 years. And what's even more gratifying is to see Tyler and his younger brother reconnect, because they were best friends growing up. And Tyler's addiction drove them apart. And to see them reconnect and to feel like our family is whole again has just been an amazing gift.
What they do with the family is actually truly amazing, you know. My family had no idea why I did what I did. They couldn't understand, you know, the hurt and the pain that I'd gone through previous, because I'd never talked to them about it. And when they involve the family and get you all together, there's a lot of love in Battlefield.
My mom's became my best friend. I go to her for everything when I'm stressed out, when I'm sad, and she's really been there more than ever since I relapsed. So, if my mom had never come to Battlefield, I don't think we would have any sort of relationship right now. The belief system that they go through the family before going to the addict, I think helps a lot. It's helped my family immensely.
So our mission is reconnecting the family, the addict, and the community. We've been working the last several years on the family and the addict piece, and this Battlefield Coffee House is the community portion.
The time is coming that we have to prove ourselves. We came to Auburn to serve. We're in other cities to serve. And I think the coffee house was just this spot that we could open up in. And it basically said, here, we're here to serve. We're here to serve. Working now with the mayor and the police chief and the fire chief and the leaders of the hospital, we've already made an impact in tying these people together. And we're not asking to just be here and do what we're told. We're asking to lead the movement, and we're campaigning to lead the movement, and we think we're most qualified to lead the movement. So this coffee house is like campaign headquarters, really. That's what it is. This is the campaigning headquarters to get us to a place where we're leading the movement to impact it.
It's been absolutely amazing working with these families and seeing an absolute shift for family members. We work through the family, and those families of ours that get plugged in and come to solution groups and come for coaching, we are seeing some amazing results.
Everybody should be a monthly partner. Anybody in the community, because everybody in the community at some point, even if they don't admit it, probably have either dealt with or know somebody that's an addict. And I think that if they knew how valuable Battlefield addiction is and how valuable it is to the family unit, that I think everybody would donate.
We started looking for ways to give back. I mean, within months, we recognized the value of the organization. And so the first thing we did is we became monthly partners. And I think we started out with the minimum $25 a month, which we quickly doubled. It's the biggest way the organization gets money. It's from the grassroots. It's from people that are getting support from Battlefield and just donating a certain percent of money every month to the organization.
So people give to Battlefield because of what Battlefield has given to them. We have family members, we have extended family, we have grandparents, we have aunts and uncles. We even have those in recovery giving back to Battlefield who once gave to them.
I've seen what the money does that's donated to Battlefield give back to the community, open this coffee house, what they do with the families. I mean, that's priceless, honestly. I mean, I'm starting to give money too, because I mean, I see what it's done.
I lost my daughter Hillary to drug addiction 4.5 years ago.
I lost my son Blake 5 years ago to a drug overdose.
I lost my son Derek 6 years ago to heroin overdose.
I lost my son a month ago
I lost my son, Michael, just over 6 years ago.
I lost my daughter, Megan, 2.5 years ago to a drug overdose. I wish I knew about battlefield addiction when I was in the battle with her, but I didn't. I don't know if it would have been different if I had known, but I like to think that it would have been. And I contacted Angie because I still feel like I was wanting to battle, even though I lost her. I wanted to help somebody else. If I couldn't save my daughter, I would try and save somebody else. So please support Battlefield Addiction with the monthly partnership because we need to save these kids.